So everything is consciousness. Everything and everybody is a representation of consciousness to a certain degree. But pure consciousness is beyond human emotions and human conceptual thinking. So all is true, all is equally valid, but that does not mean that is the representation of pure consciousness. It feels like, and it is, like you are going toward pure consciousness, you're growing toward pure consciousness. But at this time, you might not be able to access pure consciousness, just maybe on a very limited time and space, and because mostly you get lost in your little human self-concepts, whatever it is. And so when you meet someone, you always meet someone who is either lower on the level of consciousness or higher on the lower level, on the level of consciousness. So basically what it means is sometimes you meet people who are very free, very self-absorbed, and I would like to shed some light on the self-absorbed parts, because a lot of people look at it as a negative way. But self-absorbed means they are so sure of themselves. But I'm not talking about self-absorbed on a human level, without consciousness or really strong self-awareness and presence and omnipresence, and having self-absorbed in a human who does not know himself or herself is completely different, has a completely different meaning than self-absorbed by spirit. Okay, so being self-absorbed as a human who already have her self-knowledge in place, or his self-knowledge in place, is something else. It is completely different. So this is why words are not really pure representation of information or knowledge. That is why, let's say an average human gets lost in the so-called meaning of the words, because they just have a very limited point of view and interpretation, so to speak, according to their level of consciousness. But someone who is beyond all that, word means something else. Plus, we are energetic beings, and for us, multidimensionals, experiencing the world nowadays is completely different than for like an average consciousness human, right? I call them sleepers, lack of self-knowledge beings, because they have no idea who they are. So it's okay. Don't misunderstand me. We need them. We need them very much so, in that sense, not in the need of a human, like, oh, I need you, and being attached. No, the system is perfect. Of course, because, this world is always going to be this world in a sense. Of course, it will grow and move towards pure consciousness, but it's not going to be like, okay, well, tomorrow is going to happen. No, because each one of them are on a different level of consciousness. And you see, while one person lives in hell, so to speak, the other lives in heaven, so-called, right? So you create your own heaven. And this is what it is. So you do all the work within yourself. It's nothing else is there. You share if you know something or whatever you discovered, but basically this is it. And so anyway, average humans are controlled by their emotions and by their basic instincts. Sexual stimulations, their lower chakras are working stronger than the higher chakras. And so when you are not controlled by emotions, and let's say family members, for example, cannot control you anymore by guilt trips, or a lover cannot control you by guilt trips, or a lover cannot control you by sexual stimulation, or, I mean, you know, there are all those strings, right, attached. So you either going to, and through self-knowledge, you either going to discover all of the strings attached, because these are the ones that are pulling the human back more than anything from really growing and really start flying as pure consciousness. And what they do is usually they either go into self-destruction, meaning they let their emotion thoughts control them, because this is what it is usually. Their family ties and other ones, you know, lovers and I don't know, everybody, you know, or the attachment of being the savior of humanity, and all those, they are strings. All of them are strings. And so you're either going to see it, and then they will not have control over you, because you will be constantly self-aware that which string is trying to pull you down back to the old 3D human little consciousness. Because you're existing in this physical body, you are consciousness, not pure consciousness yet, if you are controlled by your feelings and emotions, and emotional manipulators can really pull your strings very strong, or your family members can pull your strings very strong, and anybody, you know, your boss or who knows. So, but when there is no more meaning strings that could pull you and yank you every time somebody says something, every time somebody does something, every time somebody whatever, and when you become this pure consciousness and the space of pure clarity, and in that clarity there is no fear, you rose above such thing. There is no guilt, there is no shame, there is no, you know, sin, because people tell you, oh, that's a sin, that's not right, that's not whatever. What's right? What the fuck are you talking about, right? What are you talking about? There is no absolute truth in that sense, meaning what is right for me. But you have to make sure that by growing into your pure consciousness, you are not going to self-destruct. You have to see, you have to be, you know, able to see what action that you are taking, how will it affect you. Like, for example, if your strings are very strong and you have very strong emotional needs, while they can become a string which can control you. For example, if you believe that a lover will give you everything that you ever needed, and this is like this belief you have, these emotional needs can control you to all the way back to obsession and addiction, and really eventually losing yourself back into this false belief. So if you know that all place of love, place of power, place of self-empowerment, place of confidence, place of everything is within you, then you no longer seek it out there. It's impossible for you to seek it out there because you know that you have it all within yourself. And eventually, you just know that any external representation is not the source of your joy or source of your happiness or source of your security or source of your sense of self. It cannot be out there. It's all within you. But humans on lower level of consciousness think that they need people, that they need others, that they need all kinds of stuff from out there. But after a while, when you are growing more and more and remembering your multidimensional self, and you entering this place of power, which is you, and it's within you, then you just know that it does not matter whatsoever. It all does not matter. And so you no longer self-destruct, you no longer destruct, and hurt other people, meaning in the sense, and please do not misunderstand the hurt, because hurting means I go at a knife with a knife and I will fucking slice you into pieces. We are not doing those things. I mean, we are, a conscious human is just so far away from violence or physical aggression that is, it's just, it's far away. You're not hurting anybody. And just, you just want to be yourself. You do not want to hurt anyone, okay? But there are some people that will not like that you want to be yourself. And they might, slash at you or want to physically hurt you because they cannot control you anymore. So, like, I know somebody who wanted to control her daughter so much that she just went into her room and started throwing her computer all around. And so that person, the mother, had absolutely no self-control. And they are, destruct properties, whatever they do, because they just cannot handle that people will not act or be according to their wishes. And this is what basically, and when people talk about narcissistic behaviors, well, everybody is narcissistic. They just have different buttons in a different place installed. Some might not care if a lover will cheat them because they don't have, they don't care about being monogamous. But other people might have problem with other parts in their persona, and they have control over other stuff or wanting to control people over other things. So those are like what people say to them, or it doesn't matter. So it's just different buttons. So you either going to self-destruct, you destruct the property and the person that you cannot control if you're not conscious, right? So you're just this control freak. Or you start growing. These are the three options. This is the Holy Trinity of consciousness and spiritual growth. So you're either going in self-destruct mode because you don't know and you don't understand what's happening. You cannot identify why you feel bad. You don't know how to access your power, your inner power. and then you go into obsessions and addictions and etc. Or you're going to and trying to control other people because you feel just the same bad, you still could not figure it out what it is, but you turned it against them and not against yourself. So these are the options. And then there's the third one, who is mastering him or herself and going to choose spiritual growth. Now those are the people of the future, and those are the new breed, because they no longer self-destruct, they no longer destroy other people, but they are becoming conscious, aware. They already have self-knowledge, they're beyond self-knowledge, okay, and they will be the next generation of humanity, conscious humanity, more conscious and more conscious. But it takes time, right? But anyway, that is why you just do whatever that your part is. Your part is you. You're to do and save anything on this world is you. Your consciousness, your awareness is the net, the safety net that you were all looking for. That is the one that will do everything in this world. In that sense, you came here to anchor this in your physical body, and while you are in the physical body of a human, you anchor the consciousness. That is your job. That is what you do. And everything else will be taken care of, because the thing is, you will gain more and more trust in yourself. You will remember more and more of your multidimensional self. And so you no longer lose yourself into 3D thinking. You will be more and more self-aware as a pure consciousness. And so a lot of times it's gonna be so different, so different. So the place of power is within you, and it's not in your family and not in whatever. That is why a lot of times people will view you as, when they hear you and they are not ready for your truth whatsoever, they will think that you are the devil. Or, they will think that you are, I don't know. Because, the funny thing is, you become this portal. You are becoming a portal. You either going to be viewed as a black hole, just as much as I was viewing other people as a black hole before, when I had a hard time understanding what they were there to deliver for me. So you can access, and maybe you will lose yourself in that so-called black hole, or you are going to grow and you step over through that stargate. So maybe they become your stargate, or maybe they become your black hole, depending on what you're going to choose. You're either going to grow into more freedom through that encounter, or you self-destruct and you fall back into 3D consciousness through that person, through meeting them, because you will be triggered. That is no question. You will be triggered in 1,000 ways, in all kinds of ways. So when you bring your intuition, your all intellectual understanding and consciousness, and all that you know, your psychological knowledge of self and people, and all together, then you will see clearer. You can choose to see clearer and ask, what's the message here for you? Because this is the only thing that you need to know. But a lot of times you fall back into focusing too much on them, what they have to learn. It's not your business. What do they want from you? It does not matter what they want from you. What do you want from them? What are your needs and what are your strings attached to them? And those strings are controlling you or started controlling you. You got so close to them emotionally because it might be many lifetimes that you had spent together. And those are conditions. Those are the conditional selves which needs to be discovered, analyzed. Those are soul fragments. And those soul fragments have certain buttons installed which you did not uninstall yet. So that's why they had such an effect on you. But now in this lifetime, at this space and time, you can choose another timeline, meaning every choice that you make today in your present will affect how you're going to experience yourself in the future and what reality you are going to experience. So the whole thing is so perfectly orchestrated that it is amazing. And another thing is, like, as you are moving into multidimensionality, the funny thing is you will spend less and less time with people. The experiences that you need will always come to you, whatever it is that you need. But sooner or later, it's going to be like, if I count my time now, maybe I'm 5-10% of the time I'm with people. And 90% of my time contains myself. And meaning I spend time with myself, which is the most beautiful, most harmonic. And every time there is some confusion, let's say something takes, something comes up, a feeling shows up, or whatever, you are in a situation, I always ask myself nowadays, how can I feel more in harmony with myself? What do I really need at this time? Am I enjoying this experience right now? I could enjoy it if I wanted to, right? But is this really enjoyable for me? Or it's like, I don't really enjoy to be here. So what am I doing here? So this is the thing, because your brain wants to negotiate, but soul just knows. Your soul knows. Like, for example, I knew I have to go away and be in complete solitude. I started feeling I'm irritated by all family members. They don't grow as much as I do. And then, we sense the vibratory difference, the gap between our consciousness. And maybe it is just time to leave them behind. So what my soul said in my dream, 2 months retreat, solitude with self. And so I started making arrangement because I felt that I need me more than I need them. I don't need them. Of course, that would be very upsetting for them. I don't need you. And I'm only saying I need me more than I need you. I'm not attached to you. I'm not gonna die if I'm not with you. And you just think that you will die because you're not with me. Because, come on now, probably 50 years or 60 years you had been without me. So what's the fucking difference? People have those weird ideas about what they need and what they want and all that stuff. None of them is really important. This is the funny thing. You can, like, there were times when I thought, like, for 35 years I had a car. Now I live in a space where I don't need a car because I'm living downtown in that sense in Europe. And it's, everything is so easily accessible. There's no point having a car until I don't want to travel or something with a car or buy a car. So it does not matter because there's just a lot of those things that the more they want to own, the more they need to maintain a certain level of presence in a physical life, unless they have really unlimited wealth. And this is what we are not willing to do, multidimensionals. We're not willing to slave away our life for certain stuff that you leave behind anyway, and stuff which you can get and which you can have, but you're patient and you know that through coming into your wisdom and consciousness and pure consciousness, you have it anyway automatically. So it's like there were times when I asked myself, so, how will I know? And how will I know when that it is? Well, you will not know. You will sense it the way it feels. The way it feels. And the feels is, please do not mix it with emotions in a way that is like emotions which are strings, attachment emotions, attached to things or attached to people, attached to places, attached to whatever. But in a way, it's like intuition heightened. It's ESP. So you will sense it. And it's not gonna be. So when people tell you, listen to your heart, no, fuck, no. Because if I had listened to my heart, in that sense, I would be destroyed by now. And it's so funny because listening to your heart is still a human emotion. And that's what they tell them. That's for humans that are still living in that emotional manipulation level. And the multidimensional is not controlled by emotions. She has emotions, and it's there, but she knows when to let it or allow it to allow herself to feel. Because when your intuition tells you there is something wrong, you cannot be stupid enough to let all your emotions go into it, because somebody's gonna suck it up and you're gonna be used. And when you feel and sense that somebody is just using you for their agenda, you got to get the fuck out of there and say, okay, I don't play with these energies. I don't need to be in this, I don't need the friendship of a liar. I don't need the friendship of a cheater. I don't need to be in these energies, in these frequencies. I am not putting myself into harm's way, right? So you just know. You just know. You do not. And you cut the strings yourself. You're cutting the strings. This is unnecessary. Maybe in the old days I was this really masochist that I kept putting myself into something like this. But since then, I've learned how to love me. I've learned to listen to my intuition and trust my intuition over my feelings, over emotional manipulators, and even me manipulating myself into something which I already know it is not fulfilling. Another cannot fulfill me anyway. And on top of that, I sense that is something off. something is wrong here. My dreams are telling me what's going to be. If I continue on this path, I feel the vibration and it feels not good, but rather bad. And I feel like being a food, being a feeding tube to something or someone, whatever they want, it doesn't matter. So you just get so much clearer. You basically learn how to live self-responsibly, how to manage energy, how to detect energy, how to interpret what you have detected, how to really serve yourself the best way and not give a shit what other people think of you or tell you or say you need to change. You just know you don't need to, you don't need to change anything in you because you are sensing more than they can, and because they don't understand what you're sensing. And even if you tell them that you do, they still keep going with their own little agenda, which is okay because there is a part of them which is still attached to something, and you just, it doesn't matter what they want from you. It doesn't matter what they need from you. The only thing in this life that you really, really, really need is yourself. And it's all about you remembering your powerful multidimensional self being in complete self-sovereignty, self-government, self-generation, regeneration. It's just, you just know. You just know. That's it. That's it. So the Holy Trinity of ascension is, and the process of ascension is, you're either going to self-destruct, you are either going to destruct other people when you have no self-knowledge. This is both, applies. And of course, we're going into deeper and deeper self-knowledge. And then when you really, really become this conscious, multidimensional being, remembering more and more, growing, this conscious human, then you grow. That's the third option. This is it. So these are the options. And some people self-destruct by making themselves sick, by not understanding, not wanting to understand, and not even willing to put time, space, energy for themselves into this. Other people go just simply destruct somebody else, kill them because they don't do what I told them to do. Whatever, put a bomb on my body and blow up a whole, bus or building or whatever, because they harbor some energies that they don't understand. They don't want to deal with their things, and they got really, really lost in that sense. Lost in the hologram, lost in this whole thing, which is not real. But to realize this, you have to be conscious enough to realize that this whole thing is not real. It's a game. And when you get upset about and against the hologram, actually. It is not real. There is no spoon, right? So when you think that there is spoon, you get angry, upset, running around, but there is no spoon. It's just a hologram. So it is, I don't know, it's like destination completely unknown. because I just wonder where will it take me. But I don't need to know, because when I hear that I need to be with myself deeper for 2 months, I just trust it. I just trust my higher self is exactly knows what I need. And I felt it. And then I get this message, and then the message just confirms what I feel, because I had more and more needs for myself being alone. And then since I'm in the oyster stage, it's like it seems like I'm hardened towards the outside, but there is still this softness on the inside, all this gentleness, and just like the oyster, it's so hard on the outside, and there is this softness and smooth and stuff on the inside, which is producing at this very moment the pearl, and then eventually it will hold that treasure. And so this is the oyster stage. It's beautiful. So when you are at the oyster stage, I'm telling you, resurrection time, rebirth, it's like being in the birth canal. And those were the words that were coming, and I understood more and more while I was being with myself. And no matter how much your mind wants you to believe, or other people wants you to believe, or manipulate you into thinking that they would not be okay without you, you just know that they will. And it will give them tremendous opportunity for growth. So you step away in order to let them step forward. You step away in order to grow. And while they are growing, you are growing, just on a different level, in another way. And so really, sometimes, and most of the time, the best thing for us to do is to step away, to move into another direction, and to let them be. Just let them be. And let yourself be. Let yourself be. And sometimes we have to do that, even in physical, because you would be good at being just by yourself, and you have a lot more needs for quiet times than they do. But some of them are just so immature that they cannot respect other people's space. So they're like little children, and they want to yank you constantly. And a lot of us needs the hermit oyster time, oyster stage time, and we need to be by ourselves. And that gives us the space, a time to allow ourselves to grow further, to solidify the place of power within the self. And this is what you need more than anything. They think those people are still so attached to things, to people. And they think they cannot live without their family. But hey, you are your family. You are your mother. You are your father. You are your brother. You are your sister. You are your family. You are your best friend. And this, it is all in one. It's not 3 in 1. It's a myriad of things and relationships in one. And when you find it within yourself, You no longer need anyone at all. You no longer need them. You needed you. And once you have you, holy cow, people will fall into your portal because you're a portal. You became a portal. You became this omnipresence. They all want to be around you. I even noticed that the cats, all cats, wanted to be around me. The other did not want to sleep on the other chair. They wanted to come near me and be around me. It's like you will be like this portal that pulls them to you. But you have to be vigilant. And since you're self-committed, you also have to know you become this portal of light, this conversion station, you know. And so you have to know which one is serving your well-beingness. And when you feel that you gotta go away or you have to cut them out of your life, you cut them. You move on. And you don't stay. So when you feel that they starting to get attached to you or to your energy, rather, you just sense if something is healthy for you or not. And you cut it without remorse. Because this is what you have to do. You are your first. You and you are the primary relationship. There is no more relationship that is important. They are all disposable. Of course, this truth is like, ooh, this would hurt people so much. But why? Because they are still attached to a belief, which is underneath, which supports or not very often their life anymore. But they are still attached to it. They just have to find that belief in order to release it, identify it, release it. Just know that sometimes the best thing to do is to be with yourself. It's just so beautiful. And this is all I know. All I know is that destination is unknown. I have no idea what the future holds. I have some glimpse. I got some messages regarding the future. But as my frequency is changing, so is my future. Because I'm making choices more and more for myself, for my own self-preservation and self-empowerment. And then you just sink into that. And it feels good to be in it. Yeah. So this was it for today. And I've been speaking for 44 minutes. Some will listen to it, some won't. And the ones that listen are the lucky ones. So-called lucky. They create their own good luck. Okay, guys. Have a wonderful week. Bye.